Yeah, didn't have time to jot all of it down.
No problem. I'm going to post all these videos online. It will be available on YouTube.
Okay.
You're good to go then. Okay, let's
Okay.
join our hands right now. And let's begin with the Mangalashtra. Take a deep breath, calm yourself. Traikalyam Dravya Shatkam Navapada Sahitam Jiva Shatkaya Leshya Panchanye Chastikaya Vrata Samiti Gati Jnana Charitra Veda Ittetan Moksha Moolam Tribhuvan Mahitaiha Proktamarhadbhirishaiha Pratyeti Shraddhadhati Sprashati Chamatimanaya Savai Shuddha Drishti Mokshamargasya Netaram Bhetaram Karma Bhuvratam Gyataram Vishwatattvanam Vande Tadgunalabdhaye. Jai Hind everyone. Let's see, are we waiting for more people? I think 2 or 4 people are missing today. Let's give a few minutes till the time we can revise a few things from our last chapters. And in the last ones, probably we spoke about matter, right? And the various functions of matter we spoke. We spoke how matter, the speech we have is a matter function. The every single thing that is tangible we see with our eyes is of matter function. Our life and death itself is matter function because of the ayu karma particles. Our pleasure and pains are matter functions because of the happiness and the unhappiness vedniya karma particles, which are the vkps. And then we learned that um, what else was there in the matter? Mostly our thoughts, speech, mind, every single thing, our body, its functions, everything is matter in nature. So that particular concept was very clear. Let's move forward. So today's slide is about consciousness. So what is the function of the consciousness? So we are going to discuss, and I'm going to put my sharing video. Hold on just a second. I'm sharing my screen. Okay, here we go. So finally, we're talking about the living essential, the living beings as an essential. So the living beings is also one of the 6 essentials. We already spoke in the starting of this talk that our acharyas is telling us about. What are the functions of this living being essential? Let's check this one out. Number 1, to be mutually useful for one another is the function of living beings. Would you believe that? Is that a definition which is given by acharyas as the function of living being? We used to think that we are here to live happily, enjoy ourselves, have fun, eat whatever we want, and study and become skillful, and then become an engineer or a doctor, and that's what the mission of our life is. And finally, we would age and we would die. Finish. Zup. Think about it again. Is that really the purpose of our existence? Very beautiful answer Acharyas has given us. No, that's not why we are here for. We are here for a very big purpose in life, and that purpose is to be mutually useful to each other. That means that we are constantly helping each other towards what? towards growth so that they can grow towards their God self and we can become our own God self. And that's why that is the biggest and the main function of living beings, to exist in this universe, in this world, on this earth. If anyone asks you what is the purpose of your life, what would your answer be? It now the answer shouldn't be, hey, I want to become a teacher, hey, I want to become a good soccer player, hey, I want to be this, I want to be that. Actually, the real answer for the purpose of life, for your existence, why you exist particularly, is to get to understand your true purpose of living, and which is to help each other, to mutually discover yourself through others. When you discover yourself through others, you become kind, you become compassionate, you behave friendly with everyone, you start praising them, you compliment them, and you make them grow towards their own highest self. And while you do that, automatically you yourself grow towards your highest God self. That's exactly why we are here for. Remember, there's a saying, when you do this, hey, you did that. How many times we do that in our day? Hey, it's you who did that, not me. It's you who messed up the table. It's not me. It's you who spoke the wrong words, not me. What happens when we do this pointing finger? Look, when we're pointing this one finger towards other, actually, if you observe minutely, the remaining three fingers are pointed towards you. Look, these three fingers right towards me, and this pointing finger is towards else. What does this mean? This means that look inside yourself first before pointing out to others, because there are three fingers which are pointing towards you and only one finger pointing towards other. That means that the other person is making us understand ourselves better through our emotions. If we have rage and anger in looking at what people are doing, then where you need to focus, you don't need to focus on what they are doing, you need to focus on what you are doing inside yourself, right? And that is the reason for our existence, that we keep on improving ourselves until we finally become God itself. And every single being on earth who exists has got this function. They all can actually become God. They can actually become their highest self. Never ever disgrade an ant, never ever disgrace an insect, and let's say a spider, or anything that you don't like. Never ever do that, because you have also been through those states, and you may go into those states further. And those souls inside those states, they also have this ability. They can help mutually grow each other, and they can actually go faster, become God than you yourself. It's very much possible. You don't know what kind of state they are going through, and probably they have learned their lessons in this lifetime. And when they have learned their lessons in the next life, it's going to be much beautiful and a better life than ours. It could be possible. Have we learned our lessons? If not, then become awake right now in this moment. Okay, that is the biggest thing and the most beautiful definition of our existence I've ever found anywhere else. I'm a science student, I told you before. I have been searching and seeking every single place for the definition and for understanding, why do I exist? What is my purpose of existence? And there is no answer I ever get. Finally, I found the true answer from this sutra by the acharyas, who says your purpose of living is to mutually help one another grow towards your highest purpose. Beautiful definition you can ever come across. Let's say, for an example, a teacher and a student, a mother and a child, a manager and an employee. What happens? A teacher is teaching a student, right? So the student is feeling grateful for the teacher, isn't it so? And what does a teacher feel grateful for? The teacher is grateful that hmm, this student is listening to me and grasping the concepts really well, right? So the teacher feels full of grace, and you feel full of grace for receiving the knowledge, and teachers is full of gratefulness because you are able to follow it. So that's his joy, that's her joy. So this is a mutual relationship between us. So we both help each other grow towards our highest selves. That's what the purpose is. Same thing happens with mother and child, right? So mother is always having her constant attention on how my child could grow, how he can have a very nice life, a better life, how to feed him well so that his mind is very well developed. She's constantly thinking towards you. So we aren't we so grateful towards our moms? Correct. Similarly, the moms are grateful towards child, because if there was no child, who would mom do all this for? There wouldn't be anyone, right? So mom is grateful to the child. Thanks for being there. Thanks for being there, because you exposed my motherhood through you. I wouldn't have discovered that ever without your existence. So both of them are grateful to each other, right? Okay, I see that Anusha's eyes are shining right now. She's really feeling grateful towards me. That's a good one. Okay, next one. For example, an employee who chooses beneficial actions for himself is doing a benefit for the company. Very interesting. What does an employee do of a company? When we choose, or an employee of that company chooses to do right actions, to be disciplined, right? In that way, it becomes an eminent part, a beneficial part of the company in a greater sense. Similarly, if we are doing our part correct, we are being a nice citizen, we are being a responsible person. We don't throw garbage on the floor here and there, right? We don't use plastics, we don't do things which can spoil the environment. What are we being? We are turning into those people who can become beneficial to not just the city or the state enlarged, not just the country, but towards the world, right? We can become so useful to the world when we are not throwing the garbages and the extra things out there, and misusing the water, misusing the air, all these things, right? Being a responsible citizen can have a huge, large impact on the whole world and the universe. So this is how we are mutually helping each other grow. So fourth point, all the essentials function for their own purpose. Very interesting. All the essentials function for their own purpose. They don't interfere with each other. However, they may influence one another. What does this mean? This means that it was yesterday's Mahavir iPad's question, right? So I can affect, a matter can affect or influence consciousness. Exactly, that's what the acharyas are telling here. That yes, each of these essentials can influence one another, but they would never retain anyone else's function into them. What does that mean? That means me being consciousness, I would never ever become matter, but I can influence a matter. Okay, with my mind I can influence the matter, right? With my thoughts, the way I'm thinking, and I'm influencing the matter particles right there. Similarly, a matter can influence my behavior. The different matter particles which are in the form of karmas influences my behavior. How about you? Consciousness can influence consciousness. You speak something to me and I get motivated, I'm influenced, right? So we are influencing, but that doesn't mean that I changed my nature. No, I didn't change my nature. My nature stayed intact. Similarly, the motion essential, motion essential is right there, right? It helps and supports our motion, but motion essential would always retain its properties. It would never ever change its nature. You get that? So none of these essentials ever, never interfere with each other's properties. Never do that. But with their own set of properties, they may influence each other. Pretty much clear. I hope so. Next point. For example, a student has an innate ability to grasp information. And so the teacher, the books, etc., can only influence the student. They are not responsible for the intellect of the student. The intellect belongs to the student, correct? But the books, the teachers, the gurus, the inspirational people, the motivational talks, they all are inspiring, they are all influencing his intellect. But they are not responsible for the presence of intellect inside that student. I hope this concept is extremely clear to everyone, that all the 6 essentials, again, they retain their own nature. They never interfere with each other's nature, but they can influence each other. Okay, so
I
these,
need more time to write.
what is that?
I need more time to write.
It's okay. I'm going to post it online, so you can go through the video a few more times. Okay, don't worry about that. Okay, let's move forward. The next slide. So we were talking about consciousness as an essential. Only one last essential is left for us to understand its function, and that is kal, also known as time. Okay, we talked about motion essential functions, the functions of halt, functions of space, giving us space, the functions of living beings, the functions of matter, the influences it has on our life, everything we talked about. We forgot about time, the most important and the most difficult to understand, but I'm going to help you as much as possible to understand the very magical, interesting nature of this time. Okay, so let's talk about the time and its functions. Okay, so here we are, the time or the cow functions. Okay, can I ask you something? Am I the screen is very big and clear on everyone's screen, right? Okay, perfect. So time and kal functions. What are the functions of the time? Okay, number one function of time, becoming. What does becoming mean? Becoming means transformation. We, a product finally becomes something over a duration of time. That's what becoming is. For example, a seed, it turns into a tree over a period of time. We as babies turn into 15 years old, 17 years old over a period of time. We become, right? So that's the function of time. We understand through time that that's what is happening. Let's see what the acharyas are saying in the definition for this one. Okay, so they say, hmm, that is a different page. So that's what becoming means. Changing is another function of time. What does changing mean? Changing means like changing of the states itself. For example, an apple. Okay, so this apple is in a green format, right? Before it turns into a complete red apple. Has anyone ever seen the vegetables, the apples, and all these things? They're all green in color before, and finally, when they mature completely, their whole state changes into something which is like more red in color or orange in color or different colors. So this is like changing of the state itself. Okay, so this is what a function of the time itself means. um, Next function of time is moving. What does moving mean? Moving is relative. It's relativity to time. Me moving from this place to Mandir, right? That moving space, the time elapsed between that, the phase of moving from one place to another. This is what moving means. Moving of objects from one place to another. That is motion, moving, right? So that moving and the time that elapses in that moving time is also the function of time. Next one, concepts of before and after, right? Don't we say that before I was like this and after I might look like this. Before, this table was in the form of ash, and after this table has been ready, probably it's going to be sent to the recycle, so it would be dismantled, so it will be in the form of some dismantled furniture or anything. So this is like before and after concepts. When we are talking about these concepts, what is happening is it is the function of time. It is only because of time we are able to calibrate, we are able to measure, we are able to see the transformations, we are able to see the the changing of the states, all these are the functions of the time. Okay, so let's look at the next point. However, these are the activities of all the living beings and the material objects, but the time that has passed by is of significance. What does this mean? This means that time is not asking us to change. It is the property of the matter or the body. It is the property of our consciousness to retain more knowledge. Before I had only knowledge of first standard. Now I have knowledge of let's say after graduating from college, a much higher knowledge and skills based on my experiences. So the time that has passed through, only time is helping us measure that. But time is not asking that you change right now. No, time is not doing that. So time essential retains its nature, that it helps us to understand the time lapse, but it does not make us change things. Similarly, look at the objects around you. Everything decays at one point of time. So time is only helpful in measuring those sequences. Okay, but time is not um, active to tell you that you have to damage right now, or you have to damage slower, or you have to do this, you have to do that, right? Similarly, like the motion essential or the halt essential, they don't tell you to move or to halt. It's your kind of feeling that whether you want to stay, you want to stop, or you want to move. It is your thing, that your body, because it has come with a factor that it is going to deteriorate over the period of time, because that's what the nature of the body is. Remember the definition of the body, what we said, something which would mantle and dismantle. That's what the body is, right? So what happens, the body has its own ways of dismantling itself over a period of time, getting deformed over a period of time. Look in my face right now. Imagine this face maybe when I'm 80 years old, it gets deformed and then it finishes up. That's the nature of the matter particles. But the time elapsed through, and that becoming of that, everything is measured and calibrated because of the time essential. If the time essential was not there, we will not be able to measure any of those things. That's the property. Look at this, being angry in one moment and happy in the other. Isn't it so? That how do you measure? Hey, just one moment before you were so happy and now you're so angry at me. How did we say that? We saw before and after, right? The different states, the converting of the states and the changing of the states, right? Turning or becoming into an angry person just before we were a happy person. So all this changing states that we see is because of we are able to understand is because of the time factor. However, the emotions are being experienced by the living being. So the happiness and the sadness, or the angry state and the happiness, both these are emotions are experienced by who? Is it the time who's making you experience it? No, the time does not make you experience anything. It is your own emotion. Okay, it is your emotion which you are feeling, but the time is only helping you measure it. That just a moment before you were angry and a moment after you're going to be, you're happy, in a happy state. But the happiness and the angry, both were your states. It has nothing to do with the time. So this makes, I think this example makes things more clear how time does not um, the time does not actively engage into changing us, but it's just a support there because we are changing, we are modifying, and it's just there helping us modify. So this is the concept of time here. Look, the material body of a lemon that changes from green to yellow is another effect of the time essential on the material objects. Have you seen those lemons? Again, the example I gave you of the apple, right? The lemon is first green in color, and just leave that lemon outside for about 5 days, 7 days. What happens? It slowly turns into a yellow color, and then leave it another 10 days outside. What happens? It would finally turn into a brown color. It would decay and smell, and it would then finish it up. Leave a few more days, all the water inside would just dry out, and it would just compress itself into just a matter body, which would finally decay and disintegrate, right? So these are all the properties of that matter of the lemon. It's got nothing to do with the time, but the time is helping us measure the phase which has changed, the becoming of the lemon into finally ash. That's what the time factor is involved into or used for. These are the functions of time. Time essential also influences minute transformations within the motion, hall, space, and within itself. This is phenomenal concept. This is unbelievable concept. Okay, to understand this, imagine, um, I hope, do you all know that there are electrons in the atom, right? Everyone knows about that. There are electrons in the atoms. Now, if a little, what happens if a little energy is applied to an electron? It jumps from its like center is the nucleus, right? Let me draw this one for you. So center is the nucleus. Okay, look at this one. This is an atom, suppose, okay, and this is an atom. This is the nucleus of the atom, right? And then there are these concentric circles, which are the energy states, right? Where the electrons jump up and down. So suppose an electron is at this point, and then you apply some heat or energy or some force to this electron. Then what happens? Or bombard it with another electron. What happens? That this electron takes a jump from two spaces to another space right up here. So the electron jumped from this space to this space, but it was still within inside the atom. It didn't leave the atom. Correct? Everyone gets that? One more time. There's this atom. Center is the nucleus, right? Let's not draw the nucleus. It's confusing. There's an electron in one of those trajectories right here. And then what happens is the moment you apply some force or something to it, this electron jumps into another concentric cycle, the path, which is known as the path, and it would jump from here to here, which shows that now the electron is with higher charge, with a different charge. Is that clear? Give me a thumbs up if it's clear. Okay, perfect. So what happens now? Same thing happens inside the motion, the halt, the space, and the time itself. In all these four essentials, exactly same thing happens. So that means that because the time particle is sitting on every single space unit, so the space unit where the motion essential is covering, that particular space unit, the space unit starts vibrating on it's like a number 6 frequency, so which means that they would go 6 times up and 6 times down. They keep on rotating within its own trajectory, within its own area, and it keeps on vibrating like up down, it keeps on vibrating within its own space. That's how we say that the motion, the essential, the motion, the hall, the space, and the time, these are not static. What does static mean? Static means like imagine a lake which has no vent, right? This lake has no vent like a river, so it is static. What happens to the lake which has no vent or no incoming water? What happens to it? In that case, the lake would finally dry out because there's no water entering into the lake, and there's no way that the water can exit the lake. The water would decay, would dry out, would finish up, become steam, and would finish up, dry out. That's what happens in the lake. What happens in the river? Within the river, there is no static. The river is constantly flowing, and that's why river never dies out. If its source is correct, which is the mountains where the snow is melting and the river flows down and the river flows into the ocean, there's a vent, there's an incoming constant water, and there's a constant exiting of the water. It's a constant motion. Right? That's why rivers keep on living for ages, right? But lakes may die out, ponds dry out. So this is exactly what happens, that none of these essentials is static. They are not going to die out because their functions are not just staying there and becoming like totally static, but it's dynamic. Dynamic means they have constantly vibrations and motions within themselves, and that's how the time factor is important there. The time becomes a support in those motions of those essentials within themselves. They vibrate higher, they vibrate lower. They vibrate higher and lower. That's why they're not static. They keep on having that dynamic nature inside themselves. This one is a little difficult, but if you have any questions, please, I'm here to answer all your questions here. It's very, very important concept to understand, because according to Jain science, this world will never ever become static. This world will never ever die, no matter what. Yes, it may transform, it may destroy and transform into another form, and but the rotation of the matter of the world that comprises it would keep on happening, keep on going, keep on further going on in time. But it will never ever finish completely. That it doesn't happen that way. That's why the concept of the dynamics, that everything in the universe, all the essentials are dynamic. Nothing is static out there. So let's go to the next point here. So the big thing that they're telling, that the time itself is constantly having that vibration inside it, which jumps up 6 points and jumps out 6 points. It has got its own vibration within the time also. And that's also because of the time's own property right there. Last point for the time. Comparisons based on age factors is also the influence of time. We compare, right? We compare that I was 10 years old, now I'm 30 years old. So that comparison, right? So your comparison with an 8-year-old, your comparison with a 30-year-old, those comparisons that we do in our physical language, right? Normal language, day-to-day language, practical language, that's also because it's a function of time that we are able to relate and we are able to speak about it. Let me tell you something very, very interesting facts about time, which modern science speaks about. So Einstein says that time towards the center of the earth is slower than the time towards the external extremities of the earth. So according to Einstein, he says that if you travel towards the core of the earth, the time will slow down for you. Is that interesting? That's why I'm telling you all these factors, because I want to tell you that time essential is a non-physical entity. It's a non-physical entity, and it has some kind of interesting properties. And this is possible only because every single space unit has got its own time. So as we are moving more towards the center of the earth, the time slows down. As we are moving away, the time becomes more quicker. I'll tell you one more interesting example of this. So Einstein also says that, no, it's a discovery. I think the scientists finally discovered that if you move with the speed of light, say 99% accurate speed. What is the fastest speed right now? The speed of light, right? Is the fastest which science has come across today. So if you move with the speed of light and you go up in the direction towards, say, Sirius, which is like the star out there, right? Whatever we call it, star or planet, so constellation, whatever it is, right? As you move towards it and you're moving with the speed of light, what happens is you would go and come back, and the people on the earth would become 17 years older than your age. One more time. Till the time you would go to the Cyrus and come back, the people on the earth, that means like if I am, say, 30 years old and I have my companion who's 30 years old with me, what happens? I sit on my jet plane or my spaceship and go to the Cyrus and come back with the speed of light. In that case, my age, the age of my friend would be 17 years more older. That means 30 plus 7, which is 47 years when I come back. And I will say, oh my God, you're so old now and I'm still so young. What would my age be after I go there and come back? I would age only 2.5 years. So my age would become only 32.5 years. This is a theory of science. That's what they say. So the practical factors, and they say that the time is also affected by the speed, the speed with which you are going, and it's actually more mental, right? So when we are thinking something about our, suppose I do my meditation here, and you tell me that do your meditation 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes complete attention within myself, I would feel that time is not passing. And after 5 minutes, I would feel, oh my God, it felt like an hour. right? When we are intensely focused doing something, the time slows down. But when you're doing something exciting, going on a roller coaster ride, this and that, right? What happens when you're doing something very exciting? Time passes so fast. You say, Mama, I need one more day to do all these things. Another hour with my friends, please. I'm going to stay 5 more hours on a play date. Why? Time moved too fast for you, right? So that's also the relativity of the time that we see in our practical life today. So these are some of the facts about time and its functions. Let's move forward to our next slide, where we are going to talk about, remember we talked about the matter, but we didn't talk about what are the properties of these matter. That means that what is, how can I identify that that is a matter, and time, space, motion, halt, and consciousness, these are not matter. How do I differentiate between the two? So the most beautiful and interesting facts that acharyas tell us is that here, properties of the matter. There if a thing has that, the matter will always distinctly have these four properties. What does this mean? It will always have touch, it will always have a taste, it will always have an odor or a smell, and it will always have a color. Without this, a matter cannot exist. Look at this amazing definition. You understand that? So, but science is not yet close to this, not yet close, because science identifies some properties in some material objects and some properties absent in some material objects. They think that because you cannot see with your physical eyes, things are missing. For example, the example we took the other day of water, right? They can't see the color of the water. They have theorized that water is colorless, but actually water has color. I'm talking about the body of the water, not the water as in consciousness, okay? So the body of the water has color. Scientists say that the body of the fire doesn't have smell. Okay, but since it is a body, it is made up of matter particles, which means that it will always have these four properties together, never ever without any of the properties. So it is not possible that the fire doesn't have a smell. It will always have a smell. Touch, the fire has, right? The body of the fire, you touch it, right? You can feel the touch. The taste, you can taste it actually, the fire, and scientists don't believe it yet. Okay, you can smell it too. Can't you smell those ashes and different things coming out of? But the fire body itself has a smell. It's not just that burning off has that smell, but it is the fire's body itself has the smell. Fire has a color, we all can see it, right? But scientists believe that it has only touch and color and doesn't have the taste and the smell. But according to Gen scientists, it's not possible. If it is a matter body, trust me, it will always have these four properties no matter what. Whether you can see it, whether you can feel it or not, whether you can see it or not, whether you can taste it or not, it will still have these four properties. So next time, whenever you look at any matter particle, a matter object, always remember that you look at that object from all these points. You look at from the perspective of its touch. You look at it from the perspective of its taste. Try to taste it. Try to understand it more deeply by going through its taste. Try to smell it. Maybe it has some smell that we are not able to get it right now. With more sensitivity, we can develop it. How about the color? You know what? I'm a pranic healer. So pranic healer, we have developed certain abilities to catch these pranas, which is like energy of we can touch the bodies of the air. We can touch it, we can feel it, we can taste it, we can smell it. Right now sitting here, if you tell me and I concentrate, I can smell any of your organs. I can smell your heart. I can see the color of your heart. I know there's a taste to it too. So every single thing which is made out of matter always have these four properties. The only difference is how advanced our consciousness is. Listen to this very carefully. How advanced is your consciousness? All these matter particles are floating in the universe, every single place, everywhere. If you are advanced, you can catch their frequency. If you're not that advanced, you cannot catch their frequency. An example for this is, nowadays they have like certain instruments, and they say that the moment you stick this instrument on the walls in India, they say, right? I think there are those instruments here also for rats and stuff, but in India they have those lizards on the walls, and then they sell those little instruments, and they say that just put this instrument on the wall and the lizards will not come here. And now what is that? Like, how is it possible lizards can come here? It is because that instrument is sending a frequency which only lizards can hear, not human beings. Human beings can't read it, can't listen to it. And when listen to it, the lizards feel chaos in their energy, and they feel they want to run away from here and not be on this particular ceiling or wall at all. And they run away from that place. So there are so many frequencies rotating around us through these matters. It is up to our consciousness how much advanced we are to catch these frequencies. Another example of this is like radio frequencies. Radio has got all the channels, every single channels it can catch in your area, right? But you would catch only the frequencies that you are ready for. For example, I want to just listen to 101 and some fancy songs, I would just tune into 101. Suppose your mind changes and you say, hey, I want to listen to something more soothing, and you change it to 98.5, right? So what happens? The frequencies exist. That's another thing. You cannot see it, you cannot perceive it, but they exist. Right? The moment you channel into another frequency, that's when you start hearing it. Similarly, our consciousness, it can channel and understand these different frequencies around them from these matter particles and things around us. Right? The only thing is we need to become advanced in our consciousness in order to read those frequencies. How advanced you are depends upon how much you can read around the universe and the space around you. So that's very, very interesting. Okay, and you can relate, and you can actually come out with your own amazing points when you understand these things, that that's how matter operates with these kind of vibrations, the properties that a matter would always have inside them. Correct? So let's move forward with our next slide for today, and we are going to talk about these properties of the matter. So let's take the first property. What does touch really mean? Here you go. So look at this interesting thing. So, touch properties that cannot coexist. Oh my God, are there properties that cannot coexist with each other? Yes, there are, but we never paid attention to it. Okay, look at this. But before learning those properties that cannot coexist with each other, let's first learn what are the 8 properties of the touch. So look at the Jain scientists. They're so phenomenal in their understanding that they have actually given a number to how many touch can happen in the universe, can be present in the universe. Okay, look at this. Number 1, hardness. We know things are hard, tough, right? Tough to break. Second, touch. If you touch something soft, you know it's spongy, it's a little soft out there, right? You can feel the softness. Third, touch, hot. It burns when you put your fingers into fire. Cold. If you touch the eyes, it feels really cold and freezing, right? That's a touch sense. Then there is rough. If the surface or the road is rough, you feel it. It's rough, dear, right? And if something is smooth and nice, for example, the fur of a nice fluffy animal, it feels so nice if you pet it, right? So smooth. So many things which are smooth. So look at the skin. It's so smooth, right? So these are some more touch. Then another 2 factors are heavy. When you lift something, you feel it's heavy. That's your touch factor. Because of the touch property, you know it. Okay, and then something which is light, that's also a touch. You feel it. This is lightweight. This is heavyweight. So these are the 8 kind of touch which acharyas talk about. And they know for sure there is no 9th touch out there. And ask any scientist, they will tell that. They will tell that's so true. Everything else we can talk to you right now, they will all be included in these 8 categories right here. So look at this awesome work and see how some of these properties cannot coexist with each other. So look at this picture here. The cold and hot, can they exist together? No, the cold can't exist with heat and heat can't exist with cold. They both are opposites. What does that mean? At any one point of time, either the surface will be hot or the surface will be cold. So at one point of time, they can have only one of these 2 properties. So this table right now is cold. So I would say this table has the touch of coldness in it. and I cannot say that it is hot. I have to say that it is missing the hot touch. But the hot touch exists because when we put it under fire, put it under flame, it becomes hot later on, right? So the properties exist, but at one time, only one of these two can exist. Look at the same example for the light and the heavy. If something is heavy, another thing, you can feel it is heavy. Something is light, you can feel it's light, right? It cannot be light and heavy at the same time. Similarly, the smooth and the rough, right? It cannot be at the same time. If it is smooth, it is a smooth surface. If it is a rough, it's a rough surface, right? So smoothness and roughness don't go together. Similarly, with the okay, I took the example of heavy light. Which example I did not take here is heavy light, rough and smooth, hot and cold, hardness and softness. If something is hard, it's hard. That hard subject, if turns into soft, then that subject is soft. So these two properties also cannot coexist. What does this mean? At any point of time, an object will have only four touch. Do you understand that? At Even though there are defined eight types of touch, but at any one point an object will only have four touch, either hot and cold, either rough and smooth, either heavy or light, either hard and soft, right? Either of those eight ones, so only four will exist at one time. So at any time, an object or putwal can have only four of them. An atom, however, is an exception. We will always have atom as an exception because atom is the tiniest, miniest, smallest, indivisible particle. And that's why atom does not behave in the same way as the big huge molecular formations. And if you go to the science also says that there are some properties exhibited by the atom which does not match if that atom molecule turns into a double charge. Means if it is a single atom, it's much easier to do the functions and understand the physical properties, but they cannot apply the same theories and phenomena to an atom which has got two charges to it or into a molecular state. The whole functions begin to change, and that's also pretty scientific. Same thing acharyas tell us here, that an atom at one point of time would either be hot or cold and rough or smooth. An atom is missing two of these properties, which is light and heavy. Atom does not have that phenomenon of light or heavy. An atom also does not have the phenomenon of, which one is missing? Um, Rough, hard and soft, and heavy and light. It cannot be heavy and light, and it cannot be hard and soft. These four properties are missing inside an atom. An atom has only four properties and only two properties at a time, actually. So it will have either it will be either rough or smooth, or it will either be hot or cold. Only these four properties, and either only two properties would exist at one time in an atom. Remember that. So an atom is an exception to this rule. An atom cannot be heavy or light, nor can it be hard and soft. I'm just confirming that with this writing here. So these concepts seem to be pretty much clear to you now. Let's move on forward with our fourth slide, which is, what's the time right now? I think I took it. Yes. Um, I think I'm going to stop here right now to take up any questions. But before that, I wanted to talk to you something more. I was researching a little bit more on Google and science and everything. I found out that scientists talk about something which is known as God particle. Has anyone heard about that? And recently, scientists, it was, I think, 1950s or 1960s, a scientist whose name was Higgs boson, he discovered the existence of God particle. And he said that there is something which is known as God particle, which has the ability to appear, disappear, which has the ability to create a vacuum in the whole universe, and that at one point of time the whole universe will become a vacuum. It's some or the other, that kind of definition with the God particle. But if you actually go deeper and you see how he has defined the God particle, it is so much similar to what acharyas are talking about the atom itself. Seems like the God particle which scientists are talking today about is actually the atom which our giant scientists have been talking about till this time. I cannot confirm that yet because there are still some properties which are missing in the God particle which are supposed to be there as an atom. So, but it seems like that it's very much close in definition to that. And then I also wanted to tell you more phenomenons which I am going to discuss. Like I'm going to talk to you about fusions and fissions and becoming making of the atom bombs and hydrogen bombs. How are these created? What kind of atomic fission and fusion reactions take place inside them? So I'm going to talk more about matter in further sessions. So I'm going to take like four slides each day so we can cover it up in next 4 days. On the weekend, which is Saturday and Sunday, I will take some different subjects. So I will pause our presentation after tomorrow. I'll take just 4 slides tomorrow, and then I'll continue back our presentation on the conscience and matter on for Monday and Tuesday. So, and by Tuesday, we will finish up this 5th chapter on Tattvartha Sutra. Let's take up the questions now. Let's stop sharing the screen. Okay, perfect. So let's begin with Anusha. Anusha, do you have any questions for today's talk?
Yeah, I do. So, my first question was, what do you mean by mutually? When you said that
Mutually beneficial to each other?
Yeah.
Yes, mutually means like for both of us, it's going to be helpful. For example, right now I'm sharing these concepts to you, right? So it's helpful to you. Don't look at the screen. And you listening to the information I'm giving you, you're absorbing it, right? So I am feeling grateful towards you. So this is our mutual relationship of giving and receiving. That's what mutual means. Mutual means to give and to receive at the same time. So we are benefited with each other's properties here, right? There? Okay.
Next question. How do you get influenced by the matter particles? Like you said, that our thoughts are influenced by matter particles, our feelings are influenced by the matter particles. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so matter has the ability to influence us. Okay, for example, if it's raining outside, how would you feel? You would feel, oh, I cannot go out in the rain and play, right?
What if you have like a happy emotion towards it? Like any emotion towards
Right.
it.
So, or someone else would feel that, wow, it's rainy, I can jump out in the rain. So it influenced your thoughts. That's how the matter things around us constantly has the ability to influence our thoughts. That's what I mean.
So, like, what, like the rain is the matter that influenced our thought. Yes, I understand.
Right? But if you go deeper, as I answered this question yesterday also, if you go deeper, the karma particles, when they are combining with the soul particles, right? When they're combining together with the soul cells, at that time, those particles are having influence on the soul, and the soul is not able to express itself completely, its own infinite bliss states. Right? So that's how the karma particles are influencing the soul's expression. And now the soul starts, actually, you know what? Soul is complete happiness all the time. It's in a blissful state. It is because of the karma particles that the soul starts feeling happiness or unhappiness, to be precise. That's how the matter particles in the form of karma is actually influencing the soul or the consciousness. Okay, but what I meant by today's presentation is that those karmic particles can never become living substances, never ever. Similarly, this consciousness can never ever become a matter. It will never become like an object. It will retain its nature as a consciousness, and those things, karma particles, will retain their nature as matter particles having 4 properties. What did we talk about? What are the 4 properties of the matter? Touch, taste, smell, and color, right? Yeah. So these 4 will always stay with that matter. This is not my property. I don't have them as a consciousness. As a consciousness living inside the body, yes, I do have it. But as a consciousness by itself, No, consciousness doesn't have the property. So this is also one way. Interesting. This is also one way the matter influences us, right? Don't we start believing that we have a body?
Yeah.
Don't we start believing that we are the body? Don't we start feeling that, hey, I am a girl, hey, I am a boy, right? Who influenced our thoughts? The soul is neither boy nor girl. The soul is just the purest energy. It doesn't have those genders. Who created those genders? It's created by those matter particles. And then we forget about our own consciousness and we start believing because of the influence of the matter on us.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move forward.
Okay. So when you were talking about how everything dies out, isn't isn't the only thing that can actually die out is our body, but not the soul inside us?
Yes, because the soul is not made out of matter particles.
So
It is only the body defined as mantling and dismantling, not the consciousness mantling, dismantling. Consciousness stays the way it is forever. All the non-physical substances, what are those? The soul, the
Mind?
the non-physical substances,
Oh
the
yeah,
soul,
the non
yes, the motion, halt, space, and time. All these five substances are non-physical in nature. Okay, so they can never ever die. Nothing can happen to. They don't have these properties of the matter of mantling and dismantling. They're never going to mantle dismantle. They will stay always forever. They're eternal like this. But it is only the matter or the body of the matter which constantly mantles and dismantles. It is not our property. We are non-physical consciousness.
So you know how you said like a pencil can break, but it'll keep on becoming stuff?
Different
What
forms.
about our body?
Yes, our body too. So once we die, what happens to the body? The body finally decays and becomes the sand, the ash, or the mud, right? That's what the body converts into. And then again, the body forms itself again back from the materials and the ingredients inside the mother's womb, right? So it keeps on creating and discreating itself, dismantling itself. So that's the function of the body, not of any of the non-physical entities.
Okay. So when you were talking about how fire, how you said that scientists haven't found out that fire has smell and taste, you said that since it's matter, matter has to have four
Properties, yes.
But what about 1 sense beings, 2 sense beings, 3 sense beings, and 4 sense beings, and 5 sense
Okay, you're confused. Again, remember, when I'm talking about fire and its properties, I'm not talking about the fire living being. I'm talking about the body of that living being in the form of fire. So this is very interesting to imagine. If you see a drop of water, what happens in the drop of water? You know, the drop of water, what we see with our eyes is actually the body of the water consciousness being. And the water consciousness being lives inside that drop of water. And you know what? In that one drop of water, there are like millions of water consciousness beings inside it. In one tip of a gemstone, say a diamond, just one tip of it, it has got a sankhya, which is like uncountable number of earth-bodied beings inside it. And that's the big body that you see outside. So
like
the fire that you see is actually the body of the fire, but you cannot see the consciousness. You cannot see the fire consciousness itself because no one can see the consciousness. Can you see my consciousness? No, you cannot see my consciousness too, or yourself, right? You can only see the consciousness through your body. So what we see is the fire's body, but the consciousness lives inside that fire body. So you know what? If you turn on the gas for making some food, right? What happens? What happened today, Anu? So today what happened? Listen to this. I was making food and I had two gas on, and generally I cook food on. I try to make everything on the gas, and I don't shut off the gas at all till the time my food is done. So Anusha came and she said, I must save energy and I should put off this fire immediately. And then immediately I said, oh, don't do that, please. And she said, why? It's nice. I'm saving energy. I said, no, you just made one of the fire-bodied beings die in this moment. The moment you switched it off, it died. And now if I turn on another gas burner, for cooking something else, I have to make another living being live. And then it would again die off after some time. So I didn't want it that to happen. I just wanted one living being to support me in my eating, and I was going to feel grateful towards it. I was going to say, hey, thank you, fire, like I always do that to the water, to the fire. I say, thank you so much. It's because of you I could cook, but because of me, you have to give away your life. So I'm really, really thankful for you, for your existence to be able to do that. So remember, we must always be very grateful and kind to these living beings around us, and not waste them, not kill them, not let the ACs or the fans run throughout the whole days in the house. No, don't do that. It's really hurting these air-bodied beings. So be very, very conscious about these beings around you. Okay, good. Actually, I answered this question because of dust collection. Otherwise, I would have pretty much stayed on the topic. You have another question?
So like on the same question, fire, like so the fire itself has the smell and taste.
Yes, the body of the fire, the consciousness of the body of the fire doesn't have any of these properties. It's only the matter. What is the matter? The body is the matter.
But if you eat fire, which obviously no one would do, wouldn't it just burn? It would just disintegrate and just burn.
I mean, that's the property of the fire. Okay, the fire would burn off, right? But the fire's body has the four properties. Even if you cannot see it, it has. Get that?
Okay.
You can't, it's not possible for you to catch all the properties at the same time. Are you done with your questions?
Yeah.
Good job. Let's see what questions we have today, or what's in the discussions today.
It looks like we have no questions.
Okay, we don't see any questions. And someone here says, yes, it jumps up in energy levels. Yes, you understand that. And is that because of gravity? I really don't know about the science. It's because of gravity or not, because if you know about quantum atoms or quantum theory, it's not really the function of gravity. It's like the quantum atoms appear just randomly anywhere and everywhere, right? That's what the quantum thing is. But actually, according to Jain science, that's not true. The atoms can't just disappear and appear anywhere. Okay, the atoms would always move in a speed, and it can move in a speed much faster, and it might seem to us that it has become invisible for a duration of time and visible in another duration of time. So according to Jain scientists, I don't think they believe in this quantum theory. They know that the atoms can move at a very fast speed, and that's why it becomes invisible to the eye till the time they reach to the next spot, because in speed you can't really see things really. Like if a car just goes in a shoot speed through, you might not even notice its color. It's such a fast speed, right? If a bird flies from one place to another in a fast speed, you can't identify which bird is it. You wouldn't know it was a crow or it was a pigeon. What was it? You don't know. So it's the speed which makes us feel that it's invisible, but it's actually visible. But anyways, atoms are not visible to our naked eyes. So that question is still not valid there.
He actually meant the time slowing down at the center of the earth. Is that because of gravity?
Scientists say that time is affected by the gravity. Well, since we know that these essentials influence each other, so essentials can influence each other. But is time a matter particle and that it gets affected? Then I would say no. So time is a non-essential, non-physical in nature, and it may get influenced with the gravity, but I wouldn't say that it is matter in nature here. So possible that it is gravity, it is due to gravity. But how would you answer this when we are in the space? What about the space-time? Probably you're applying it to because of having no gravitational pull. That's why the time out there is different when you go and come back and when you are here. So we can relate to that a little bit there, yes.
So Agamya said that a big eagle flew over her yard yesterday, and she didn't know it had a bunny. And when it landed in my backyard, it was hurt and it started to move. And then I saw the bird hitting the bunny. And when I tried to save it, it died before I could save it. So how should I feel about that?
Okay, beta. You did your best, right? You did what you could do, right? But things still happen in nature. So in that moment, you have to let go. You have to let go of your emotions, and you have to say Namokar mantra in that moment, because those lives in the body of the bunny and the bird, they both, if they hear your Namokar mantra, so the sound of Namokar mantra has amazing vibration. Scientists have found out that the sound and the vibration of Om is so powerful. It can influence um, not just matter inside the universal space right here. It can influence even the planetary motions. The sound of Om is so powerful. So that's why when you chant Namokar mantra, if you know that Om is a vibration which has come out of Namokar mantra, right? It's like Arihant is and then Shariri, which is Siddha, is and then then comes Arihant said Acharya is and then forms an U sound. So A plus U makes it O. So the sound becomes O. And then the last is Muni Maharaji Ma. So it becomes Om. So the Om itself has come out of the vibration from Namokar mantra. So when you speak Namokar mantra, it is amazing vibration that can influence um, the whole of and in entirety of the universal space. It's got so profound. So when you speak that in that moment, allow the things to take it, the vibration, if they want to take it. If they don't want to take it, you can't do much about it. So just let go after that moment. Don't feel sad all day, because you did what you could did. If you couldn't do what you wanted to do in that moment, that's when we feel guilty. I could have gone there, done this and done that, but I didn't do this. But even then, I would say, don't have your guilt vibration stay inside you for a long duration of time. You must reinstate yourself back to your soul properties, because that's who you truly are. I hope you get the answer in this one.
She did say Namokar mantra, so that was a good thing.
That's a good thing. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Let go that you fear to lose. In Yuda's words, let go of that you fear to lose. Very interesting. This is psychology. If I take it here, it will take one more presentation. But thank you for such insightful words right there. Um, and I think we are done for today. Good job. Thank you so much. But I didn't get much questions today. Probably it was much easier to understand today's concepts in class. But I will still stay experiment. Look at every single object around you with now different eyes. See them with color. See them with all the four properties of the matter, and identify how different essentials, others, they don't have these properties, and see how the motion is working around you, how the halls is working around you. Start watching this universe from a very different perspective from now on, because that's what Acharya meant to do. Acharyas wanted to give us a perspective, a vision, so we can understand the world better. And above all, we can understand ourselves better. That's why we are here for. Remember, back to the first two lines of today's chapter. What were the first two lines? The first two lines was, we are here in order to mutually support each other in growing towards our highest self. So from today onwards, change your vision of life and be there and help everyone around you and allow others to help you. Become mutually helpful to each other and grow. Enjoy yourself. Join your hands. Take a deep breath. Let's do the Mangalashwaran. मोक्षमार्गस्य नेतारं भेत्तारं कर्मभूभृतां ज्ञातारं विश्वतत्त्वानां वन्दे तद्गुणलब्धये. Jai Hind, everyone. See you tomorrow back at 3:30. Enjoy till then. Bye.